Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kimball's Curiosity. And the curiosity I want to talk about today is Walt Disney and their critical race thinking program that was leaked over the internet. Yes, and this happened about 5 days ago. It's taken me a few days to digest because, quite frankly, I'm going to say it quite bluntly, that the article that was first started sounded like it was going to be about recognizing all the different races and different cultures and end up being basically a reverse R in a specific direction. And quite frankly, that disgusts me. I'm tired of it. And yeah, you're going to say, oh, well, that's because your skin color is white. Well, you know what? I am a mixed race person. I do have East Indian race in my bloodline. Although I've not been tested DNA wise, it has been told through my family in regards to the family tree. And quite frankly, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And the problem right now that we're facing is that we're dividing each and every one of us down racial lines, religious lines, and it needs to stop. Racism is everywhere, in every race. We see it every day when we watch the news in the African communities where tribes fight each other tribes. That's racism in itself. We see it currently out playing in Israel, where the Palestinians are fighting the Israels, and vice versa, because there's an ingrained hatred right now amongst them. And until we ask the hard questions, we're never going to solve the answer. We'll never solve that racism issue. And the news media doesn't want to seem to ask those hard questions. Instead, they just go down what's the flavor of the day, the go-to, the anti-Asian right now that's going on. And I understand that right now because there's a lot of anti-Asian hate going on because of the COVID and where it originated from. But I'm going to say this. I've seen Asians make disparaging comments about white people, disparaging comments about East Indians. I've seen East Indians make disparaging comments about Asians. I've seen Asians make disparaging comments about other Asians, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it. And it's everywhere. It's not just and it happens here in Canada. And the problem is that the media does not want to sit down and ask the hard questions. It's time that we look at each other as human beings and not define each other in regards to what race we are, what religion we are, what sexual orientation we are. But also at the same time, you shouldn't be turning around and forcing your opposite views down other people's throats. It's not doing it you're doing more harm than you're doing good. Yes, you need to say, hey, this is the way this person is. So be it. It should be recognized in regards to who you are and your character. I know it's easier said than done. I know that. And then we also need to recognize that people do make mistakes. And that there should be some retribution where these individuals can come back. But no, they get canceled or kicked out or whatever. What you post on social media 10 years ago or now and then 10 years later pops up may not be the same views that you have back then. People change. For crying out loud, I know my views have changed over the years. Anyways, this document was released by Christopher F. Ruffle. Sorry if I screwed your name up. I apologize. And basically, Disney employee training claims U.S. was founded on systemic racism, includes a white privilege checklist. I've looked at the checklist, and quite frankly, it is the reversed R word. It's disgusting. If that was any other race put on there, you would be called out, Disney. It's disgusting. Also, what was disgusting is about asking about sexual orientation in it too, because it does ask that question, and that's why I'm going like I'm just was flabbergasted. We're gonna get to that in a minute. So this is the document, Ally for Race Consciousness. That's what was released. I'm not going to go through it because if you want to, you can go on this fellow's Twitter account if you want. And you can look up the documents there. But anyways, here is the checklist. Number 1. This is basically, how privileged are you? I am white. Really? Really? I can tell you right now, where I got to today is not because of the skin of my color. In actual fact, I fought for crying out loud, I can't even say adversity to get where I am now. When I graduated high school, I wanted to be an RCMP officer. You know what I was told? Because I'm a white male, don't even think about applying. Because the RCMP need to hire minorities because it's an affirmative action and they need to increase their representation. Fair enough. I moved on because I was told, don't even bother. You won't be looked at. Was I bitter? No. I moved on because I said, okay, that avenue's closed on me for now. Then I had another job that I lost over because, again, I was told, oh, well, it was because, and they kind of quietly said to me, it was because of my race. I just sat there and I said, okay, time to move on to the next thing. Another one happened. I actually got laid off because even though the other individual wasn't the best candidate for the job, I got laid off. And again, that was because of my skin color. Was I angry? Was I upset? No. Another obstacle to overcome. And so on and so on. And again, there was one more time, but after that, I fought to prove that I was the best candidate for the job. And eventually I got to where I got to. But it wasn't because I was privileged. My family wasn't privileged. We were actually making ends meet when I was growing up. Me and my 3 stepbrothers. My parents made sure that we had food on our table, that we went to school, that we had lunches to be fed. And yet nowadays, I don't even want to get into that because I know how hard it was for my parents, my stepdad and my mom, how hard it was to feed the 4 of us. When my stepdad basically was making ends meet, when he finally got the job and everything else, that I was basically ready to leave high school. And then 4 years down the road, I think it was 5 or 6 years down the road, he got laid off, but offered a job somewhere else with the promise that he would go back to his original offer. There was work. Well, guess what? That didn't happen because, again, the color of his skin. They actually had other individuals of minority group go in and do the job. Did my dad sit there, my stepdad turn around and get upset about it and basically blame the race? No. It was basically the union that screwed up, and he went after the union. Anyways, so this really irks me when I'm told because I'm white, I'm privileged. Well, I hate to tell you this, I was not. I struggled. My parents struggled. My grandparents struggled. I'm going to tell you a story. When you say, have I ever, actually, let's get down there. I have never been discriminated against because of my skin color. Well, I'm going to tell you a story. I was in a back east from my uncle's funeral. He lived in a predominantly minority community. Me coming from a multicultural town that didn't see racism, didn't see color, just individuals. And I walked into a corner store because I wanted to pick something up. And for the first time, I felt uncomfortable because all the eyes turned to me and looked at me and were just watching me as I walked in. I was the only white person in that convenience store. I felt uncomfortable. But at the same time, and to be quite honest, at that time, I didn't know why I felt uncomfortable other than the fact that all the eyes were on me. I felt basically it was, how dare you come into our store? So I got my stuff. They took my money, allowed me to purchase my items. Not saying that they didn't. And I left there and I went back upstairs, up to my uncle's former apartment. And that was when my aunt told me, "Are you crazy? This is what they're, blah, 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 blah." And I went, "What difference does it make? What difference does it make?" So, it's funny when I go through this because I have never been the only person of my race in a room. I have never been mocked for my accent. Well, I have been mocked for my Canadian accent, eh? Eh? I've never been a victim of violence because of my race. Okay. I don't know. I've never been a victim of violence. Actually, sorry, if you call bullying violence and being picked on, then I would say yes. But I don't know if it was race. I think it was more basically because I refused to be the in crowd and follow what everybody else did. I did my own thing and abide by my own thing and treated people with the same respect that they deserved. I've never been called a racial slur. Well, I hate to say this, but I've been called a redneck. And quite frankly, a redneck is a racial slur. I don't care what anybody says, but it is. So there you go. I've never been told I sound white. Well, I hate to say this, I am white. So, okay. This it goes on and on and on and on. But what really gets me is I am a man. Okay, fair enough. Males tend to have a better chance at jobs and everything else. But at the same time, I've seen other women get jobs over men because they're best qualified for the job. And that's the way it should be. Where was it here that I'm trying to look for? I am heterosexual. So basically you're telling me because I am heterosexual, I am privileged. Okay. So if I love a woman and prefer a woman over a man, then I'm privileged. I've never lied about my sexuality. I never had to come out. Well, it's pretty hard when I am heterosexual for me to say that I've never had to come out. Quite frankly, I didn't. When I was growing up, I really didn't care what sexuality you were. I will admit I used the word disparagingly, but as well as I've been called the same thing when I was growing up and being bullied. And yeah, it was wrong. Yeah, it was wrong to use that word because I wasn't upset to being called that, but at the same time, I utilized it trying to, say inflict pain back at the individual. But over time, I realized that that's not right. No. Anyways, I'm not going to go any further in this, but that's the gist of this whole thing is just, it's disgusting. And, at the end of the day, one thing I want to point out is this individual is talking about, let me just move myself here on the screen here. Oops, wrong one. Just give me a second here. I saw tribalism rip apart my country. Now it's happening in America. Basically what she's saying is that she was from Somalia, I think it is. I'm going to go down here. Somalia. And that she was being taught to grow up not to trust other tribes. And eventually each tribe didn't trust each other, where it broke down into civil war and destroyed Somalia. This also happened in Yugoslavia. So we need to start recognizing what's happening here. Just wanted to point out also that as of yesterday, Disney pulled the training off their website and stopped offering it, from my understanding. They also tried to blame the Nolan as unrepresentative of the document. I'm going to shrink myself here. These internal documents have been deliberately distorted as reflective of the company policy, when in fact their purpose was allow diversity of thought and discussion on incredibly complex and challenging issues of race and discrimination that we as a society and companies nationwide are facing. Disney's brand has long history of inclusivity with stories that reflect acceptance, tolerance, and celebrate people of differences, as we have constantly demonstrated in such popular films as Moana, Coco, Black Panther, Soul, Raya, and The Last Dragon. As a global entertainment company, we're committed to continuing telling our story that reflect the rich diversity and the human experience. Okay then. So, if that's the case, Disney, why did you shrink down any African American that was on the posters of Star Wars? You needed tiny people compared to the posters that were in North America and Europe. Why did you have the actor who played Black Panther have his mask on when it was broadcast in China, if that's what you're standing up for? Notice how Mulan wasn't put in there, because Mulan was filmed near concentration camps in China. Very interesting when the almighty dollar comes in, but not walking the talk. So Disney, you need to start walking the talk. If you're going to preach this and expect this from your employees, then you got to act the same way as a corporate company across the board. I know it's a difficult topic. If you didn't like what I said, hit the dislike button. If you liked what I said, hit the like button. I'm open to comments, difference of opinions. That's who I am. Anyways, take care and peace out.